Steve Bone joins us on Pompey Sound. He pitches in virtually, so I can't see whether he's wearing a black armband after last Saturday.
No, it was disappointing, wasn't it? Although on reflection, I didn't think it was quite as bad as some people thought, because we heard the manager himself say, I think, didn't he say that it was the worst home performance? What did he say? Worst home performance in the Championship, he said, didn't he? I think, since he started, which maybe he's got a point there. Plymouth last year was bad, and I would say was on a par with what we saw last Saturday. But I saw people saying, it's the worst performance at home under John Massinio. Well, I think they may have forgotten 4-0 at home to Blackpool and 3-0 at home to Leyton Orient in the promotion season, because I'd say they were worse. It was just so frustrating, I think, after the high of the performance at Southampton. The fact we got a point there and could have easily have taken all three, and were the better team in that game where we really wanted to be the better team. It was after the Lord Mayor's show, wasn't it? It was a real sort of bump back down to earth. Didn't deserve anything from it. Like I said, I didn't think it was a terrible performance. We had possession, we created a few chances, we put a few crosses in. There was one or two in the second half that might have gone in if the header or shot had been a yard either way, but just one of those days in the end, wasn't it? You go away a bit dispirited, and I think that's 3 wins at Fratton Park Sheffield Wednesday have had in the past 4 seasons now. So we won't look forward to them coming back next season if we play them next season. So yeah, just very, very disappointing especially after the previous week.
Okay, 2 questions for you, and they're sort of interconnected, so I'll ask them all in one go, and you can work your way through them as you choose. Would we have conceded that first goal during the 10th minute and failed to, given the free kick away, and failed to get a proper wall up if it hadn't been for the 10 minutes, the 10-minute applause, which all the Pompey fans were doing, and none of the Sheffield Wednesday fans were doing? They were singing a song, for goodness sake. And obviously, would that second goal have gone in if Shaughnessy hadn't crocked his hamstring in the way that he did?
Very good questions that I expected you to ask. Normally you ask the questions that I don't expect you to ask, so you're doing well there by being predictable for a change. Let's take the first one first. I don't think the players on the pitch, either side, were particularly affected positively or negatively by the applause, the 10th minute applause. I must admit, I started to applaud when everybody else did, and then I thought, hang on a minute, we're defending a free kick here, because I think the free kick was given pretty much at the start of the applause, wasn't it? They broke forward and then there was a foul just outside the area, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, I don't think we want to be applauding the other club when they might score against us. And then of course they did score. Great finish from Bannon, wasn't it? We know he can do that, and we should have been a bit more ready for it. So I actually stopped applauding, and it kind of led me to have the opinion that maybe during a game, if you want to applaud another set of fans or another club for something, and I think it was absolutely fair that we did want to sort of recognise Sheffield Wednesday's struggles, because they are similar to the ones we went through a few years ago with owners that we didn't want. I think it's fair to show that sort of support, but I wonder if it should be kept to before the game, half-time, or after the game.
Yes.
And there is a bit of hindsight there, because, as I say, I started to applaud and I hadn't thought of that thought beforehand. And if the play had gone on during that applause and nothing much had happened, we probably wouldn't have thought any more of it, would we? And you do get these minutes of applause for people who have passed away and things like that during games now. It happens more often than it used to, and normally it's fine, isn't it? It doesn't affect anything. So I don't think we can blame that for conceding the goal. I think we'd have conceded that whatever happened. But I do think, and other people will have a different opinion on this. I've seen some people defend staunchly the right of themselves and other Pompey fans to get involved in that sort of show of support during a game if they want to, and that's fine. But I just think maybe that sort of thing is better before or after the game. In terms of the second goal, just very unfortunate. Shaughnessy had that ball covered, didn't he? And then ping, the hamstring went. The Sheffield Wednesday player played on, and quite rightly so. I've seen some people say, should he have kicked it out? Absolutely not. I think if you've got a head injury, it's the referee's job to stop the game, and that is generally what happens. That clearly wasn't a head injury, that was clearly a muscle injury. It was pretty obvious straight away to everybody there, wasn't it, that it was his hamstring that had gone. I don't think you can expect another team to stop when that sort of thing happens. If you start to expect that sort of thing, then how long is it before a player who's running for a ball played through his defence that he thinks he might not get to goes down as if he's been shot and tries to get the game stopped like that? I think it's open to abuse greatly in today's game if we expect that to happen. So we wouldn't have conceded the goal if Shaughnessy hadn't been injured. It was bad timing. We conceded it. We have to get on with it. I think if it had been boot on the other foot, I think if Pompey had been attacking and a Sheffield Wednesday player had gone down with a hamstring injury, and the Pompey player had then, let's say Colby Bishop had been chasing that ball and was then through 1-on-1, we would not have wanted him to kick the ball out of play or stop the play. I think we'd have been screaming at him if he had. So that, I think that kind of sums up my view on the two goals. Both unfortunate, but they happened. And we lost because we weren't very good on the day. Really, doesn't really matter how the goals were conceded. I think that would be my view.
Okay.
Like I say, other views are available from other people.
Well,
I understand.
I had a feeling when Bannon was standing over that free kick. Do you remember an England-Holland game when I think Koeman should have been sent off, but he stayed on the pitch, and then England conceded a free kick, and as he was standing over it, I remember Brian Moore's commentary. He went, he's going to chip it, he's going to chip it, he's going to chip it. And then it went. And I had the same feeling in my gut when Bannon was trotting up to pop that one in.
Yeah, you can see circumstances unfolding in front of you, can't you? And you can say, "Oh no, what's going to happen here?" and it quite often does. Yeah, I mean it's good free kick, to give him credit. Didn't think the wall and the keeper covered themselves in glory in trying to defend it. They might have set up differently, but there it is. It's gone. It's happened. It's gone.
When the second one went in, I noticed Ben Kellett shouting to the lino for something. And I still can't work out what it was he was shouting for, because was he saying the game should have been stopped? I guess that's all he could have been saying, because there was no hint of offside or anything like that. Well, I don't think. So it was in his mind straight away that they were getting an unfair advantage.
Yeah, I imagine in the heat of the moment, conceding that goal, you probably look for a get out, don't you? Look for a way out, and you might momentarily think that the linesman should have flagged for the player going down, but clearly he shouldn't. There's nothing in the rules that say he should, nothing in the rules that say the Sheffield Wednesday player needed to do anything differently. Kellett was probably just a bit frustrated that they conceded like that, and I think in the cold light of day, if he looked at it later, he would have accepted that nothing wrong with the goal, really. And no fault of his, really, was it? It was ended up as a 1-on-1. Yeah. On another day, he might have come out and blocked it, saved it, but he didn't on that occasion.
Yeah, you don't very often see people blasting a 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, but that's what he did, and it went in the back of the net, so you can't argue with it. What do you put this down to? Last season, we couldn't buy a point away from home, but we were winning everything at Fratton. This season, it's completely the opposite.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's worrying to have lost 2 of our first 3 at home. Against, let's be honest, we haven't lost to top teams who are tipped to be the champions, have we? We've lost to Norwich, no disrespect to them, and Sheffield Wednesday, no disrespect to them. We beat Preston in between, which was a good result. It wasn't a particularly sparkling game, but it was a good win and it was solid. And we kept a clean sheet, so that was good. I think it's probably more noticeable because of the fact we've had 3 away games so far and we've taken 7 points from them. 5 points from them, haven't we? We've got a win and 2 draws. I think it's the away form that is more noticeably different at the moment to last season, because we've gone to these away games and we've played with belief, haven't we? Which in a lot of away games last season, I don't think we did. You just hope it'll even out. If you can get your home form sorted and keep up the better away form, then you're laughing, aren't you? You're looking at a top half finish. What you don't want to do is go on all season with good away form and bad home form, because you do need. Home is where the majority of people watch you, and you do want to get a good number of home wins under your belt. And we've got 4 home games in the next 6, I think, haven't we? I think after Ipswich, away this weekend, 4 of our next 5 at home in October 4 of our next 5 games in October are at home. So we need to sort that home form out, and I'm sure we will. I don't have a long-term worry over that. The fans will keep behind us. The fans will be supportive. I think in any game where you get 1-0 up, to settle the players, settle the crowd, we'll be fine.
And am I right? We've got another international break coming up, and do you want to start spitting blood about that now? Get it out your system.
Well, we have, haven't we? We just get going again with. I think after Ipswich we play Watford and Middlesbrough at home in the space of a week, and then we get another international break. So that'll be 5 weeks after the previous one, and then after that we come back with another 3 games. So we play 3 games in 8 days, none for a fortnight, and then another 3 games in 8 days, which I do think is you look at factors as to why more players get injured these days, not just our players but players generally throughout the leagues. I do think this stop-start season that a lot of them have because of the international breaks, particularly at this end of the season where you have a break you have 1 in September, 1 in October, 1 in November. I just think it's a ridiculous schedule. And I get tired of saying it, but why do we need to stop everything for a few internationals to go fly off and play in what are quite often meaningless games anyway? England have virtually qualified for the World Cup already. I know international breaks are not just for England's benefit, but in our case, you look at why we're all stopping. England will have another 2 games in October. I assume they're both World Cup qualifiers. You could send any 11 English players off to those, and you'd probably still qualify for the World Cup finals. I just think it's a shame to keep disrupting the Football League schedule as we do. But I'm probably wasting my time complaining about it because it's not going to change, I don't think, is it?
No, Adrian Segicic was honest, and he said that it was an exhausting schedule that he had, but that he's prepared to take it on the chin that he didn't actually get any game time, but he's pledged his allegiance to the Socceroos, of course. He's an Aussie. And if they're calling him up to sit on the bench again, then I guess he's going to go. But these are all these different disruptions. One wonders whether, there are no stats on it yet, but I'd love to get your gut. All these different start times and start days, and 7:45 Saturday night kickoffs. We got one of those coming up, and midday kickoffs and Sunday kickoffs. Just wondering whether there are fewer results turning out as they should have turned out because unpredictabilities are being introduced as a result of players having a different routine for match day.
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something there. Yeah, and you've every week you're going to have teams, you see it in our league and the Premier League, not so much below us, but certainly in those 2 leagues, kick-off times. How many games kick off at 3 o'clock on a Saturday now? It's not that many, is it? No. Certainly not many in the Premier League, and it's fewer in our league because every week there's 2 or 3 that kick off at 12:30 on a Saturday. I know it's still the same day, but that's quite a different time for players to get used to the idea of kicking off. They've got to be ready. Do they get up 2.5 hours earlier on a Saturday if they're kicking off at 12:30 because they have a certain routine. And then at the other end of it, you've got 5:30 kickoffs, and as you say, we've got a 7:45 kickoff coming up on a Saturday, and then quite often you'll have, you might have a 12:30 on a Saturday, having played on Wednesday evening, which isn't much of a break between the two games really. And equally, you might play on a Saturday evening and then be on the road again for an away game on the Tuesday. So yeah, I think it must affect consistency a little bit, and some players will cope better than others with that. Going back to Segacic, it's been noted by quite a few people that he's not looked quite as good since he came back from that break. He's not looked quite the threat that he did before he went away, has he? He scored 2 goals for us in those first 3 games and hasn't done since. Still looks a good player, he's still doing his share, but maybe not quite as sharp following all the travelling. But quite rightly, he said he wants to play for his country, he wants to be part of that squad whenever he can, so we'd better get used to it.
Yeah. If I was Alan Partridge at this point, I'd say he's less the Duracell bunny and more the other electric toys that are winding down whilst the Duracell bunny is still banging his cymbals, if you are familiar with that TV ad.
I am. Yes, that's a good analogy. Yeah. We need a few Duracell bunnies in the team, though, don't we? All season, if we're going to keep going for 90 minutes every week.
Do you have any indication in your own mind, and I suppose clairvoyancy is about all you can use, as to why the collective mentality just wasn't there against Sheffield Wednesday, whereas it had been there in so many of our preceding 5 games? Yeah,
I don't know. You have to suspect a little bit of complacency, don't you? I think that is a factor. I think when you've had a good start and you've gone to Southampton, you've got a draw, and you've won your previous home game, there's human nature is that you think, oh, we're quite good at this. We're going to be all right this season. I'm not saying any individual player just thought they had to turn up on Saturday, because they know that this is a championship game. Sheffield Wednesday are still a decent team despite all their troubles and the players they've lost. But it would be strange for there to be no complacency in people's minds in a way. So I think that is an element of it. And I think didn't the manager say something about you can cope with a couple of players having an off day in a team of 11, but when it's more than half the team having an off day and not being at their best levels, that's bound to have an effect on the overall performance. And there probably were that many, weren't there? I can think of quite a few. I can't think of many really who had a good game. There were 2 or 3 that were busy and got involved in the game and got involved in the play, but still probably weren't at their best in terms of the quality they were delivering. But there was quite a few that were just generally off the pace and misplacing too many passes. A couple of the guys who came on did their claims for a starting position no harm at all, didn't they? Agreed, yeah. Quite impressed with Leroux, who we haven't seen much of yet. Liked the way that he dropped quite deep to go and get the ball and then look ahead of him and look to get a move going, and look quite comfortable on the ball, didn't he? And I think he's making a claim for a starting spot. I thought Koznovsky a couple of times looked quite interesting. He was over near us taking a couple of corners. First couple of corners were pretty good. He then took one that was straight to the first man, the first Sheffield Wednesday man, this side of the post. But again, there's something there. There's a player there with Koznovsky, and Kirk as well. I'd like to see a bit more of him. I think he seems to have a bit about him, doesn't he? Bit of a presence, bit of somebody who can unsettle a big centre half, which you need to do in this league. Whether he's going to get a little run in the team, I don't know. Probably not. If Colby stays fit, you would think that Kirk's chances are going to be limited unless there are occasions where the manager wants to go with Bishop and Kirk. Could he play Kirk just behind Bishop? Don't know. We've got an issue this coming week, haven't we? because I know I'm sure we'll come on to talk about the next game, but we've got no Chaplin at Ipswich, which begs the question of who's going to play in the sort of number 10 role if Segicic remains where he is on the right hand side. So maybe Kirk will be a consideration there for a starting place. I think he might move John Swift further forward and bring in LaRue, or even, and this might be a bit of a left field one, might he bring in Marlon Pack for a start? Interesting. Be an interesting 2:00 reveal of the team news this week, particularly, I think. And I don't suppose he'll give much away before then.
Yes, the 2 p.m, when we're playing at 3, of course, the 2 p.m. Revealing of the team sheets becomes one of the first little highlights of the day, doesn't it? And sometimes we don't notice some of the things that we ought to notice. Well, I don't think I noticed that our Vietnamese lad that we borrowed from Spurs wasn't even on the subs bench the game before last, due to an injury which I understand is behind him. But listen, we started the season with, to paraphrase Shakespeare, troops of wide midfield players who could go forward and act as wingers, but they're falling like flies.
Yeah, we haven't got many left now, have we? Yeah, we just don't have any luck in that area in particular, do we? And going back to your point about not noticing who's on the bench and what have you, there are so many substitutes now. It's a job to get through the full list and then to think of actually who's not in there. Now we've got this 25-man squad, so every week there's going to be 5 players, admittedly including a couple of goalkeepers, who are not in there. And sometimes it passes you by, doesn't it? And there's actually quite a crucial person missing. But yeah, injury-wise, it's just starting to, not piling up, but they're just starting to accumulate again, aren't they? We've lost Shaughnessy now for a few weeks. Obviously before that we'd already lost Lang. I think we're hearing that Murphy is probably 50-50 for Saturday. Been playing with a little bit of a niggle, which is a worry. So yeah, a bit of a concern, and it always seems to be 2 or 3 players who play in the same position, doesn't it? Get injured at once, leaves you with not many options. It's a good job we have got all the options we have, actually. It did again look as though maybe we'd signed 1 or 2 wingers too many, I thought, at the back end of the window, but actually I think we're going to need them now, so good job we've got them.
Going to get your thoughts now, general thoughts about Ipswich, who haven't started the season too well, but they're bedding in a number of new faces. They've got a manager who is very highly thought of. And if you could incorporate this into your little crystal ball of Ipswich, we found out by doing a bit of research ourselves just how rich that club is. The owners are an organisation called ORG. They own 90% of Ipswich, and those owners are worth $13 billion, $13 billion, and have $700 million in cash waiting, okay? And that means that they compare favourably with any of the Premier League big boys, with the exception of Newcastle, whose wealth is beyond the imagination. So that's what we're up against, and yet that is a team that has all that money to spend, and they're languishing several places behind us at the moment.
Yeah, well, I didn't know they were quite that well off. I'm a bit worried now. A bit worried about Saturday now, more than I was. They are, at the moment, you'd have to say they are a team that are not in the division they should be in, given their background and their ownership. That it sounds like they should certainly, after getting to the Premier League last season, should still be there. And you would think with that sort of backing, they probably will get back there at some point. I think they were probably most people's favourites to go straight back up of the 3 clubs who came down. But it's just not really happening for them so far, is it? 1 win, 3 draws, 1 defeat from their opening 5, which puts them well, only 2 points behind us, but they're 4 places behind us in the table. It just doesn't it? It's another example of how money isn't everything. It doesn't buy you instant success. It gives you an advantage, and it might buy you success over time. But it kind of shows that you can't just throw money at something and expect it to have all the results you want it to overnight. As the season goes on, it'll probably give them an advantage. They're not going to stay 17th, are they? You'd still think I still think they will probably be one of the two promoted sides at the end of the season, even from where they are now. So they've played 5 games. They've still got 41 to go. So there's a long way ahead for them. But yeah, at this early stage of the season, I think we go there because of our performances away from home so far. I think we can go there with a bit of confidence, and I don't think it's a game where Pompey fans are wondering when the first Ipswich goal will go in and how many they'll get, as some away games were last season.
Yeah. Going back to the subject of owners, there seem to be 2 groups now of foreign owners, 2 types. There are a lot more big American banking institutes buying up football clubs and buying up football clubs in England, and there have always been, for a long time, Asian owners buying up clubs in Britain. And it seems to me that the Anglo-American owners are quite fastidious in their spending. They don't want to spend a fortune on players, and they certainly don't want to spend a fortune on salaries. My information is that the best paid Ipswich player is Hurst, who we know and love, and he's only on £17,000 a week. Now, I say only on £17,000 a week. If they are comparing themselves to the big Premier League clubs, they'd be paying their players £55,000 and £100,000 a week. So these owners might be mega rich, but they're not flashing it about. Now, some of the Asian owners that we've had, and Pacific country owners that we've had, and still have in this country, haven't got into the good books of their fans, because they have sometimes thrown their money around, and then all of a sudden, they have to have somebody else buy them a match day programme.
That may be the longest question you've ever asked me, but I won't ask you to repeat it, because we'll be here all day.
Good point.
It's an interesting point, actually. That is very interesting about Ipswich's wage bill. You think you always think with owners that have billions and billions and trillions rather than just millions, that the wage bill is going to be reflected in that. Although I suppose all clubs, of course, have to play by the financial fair play rules. You're right in saying there are more and more American owners and Asian owners. I hadn't quite made the link that you've made there between the different approach that you see with a lot of those owners from the 2 different continents, but that's an interesting point. It suggests that the American owners, if we can sort of group them like that, have got different motives and different incentives for wanting to own football clubs compared to the Asian ones. It would appear that if you're an Asian-based conglomerate or whatever, or business, and you're ploughing millions and millions into an English football club, you're presumably doing it so that your brand gets known by a big audience in a part of the world where you wouldn't otherwise be known. That must be part of what their thinking is. Whereas maybe for some of the American owners, and you could include our own owners in this, it's more of a business thing. It's more of a strategic thing. It's a business. It's an investment that over time you want to see grow. You want to see do well. You want to sort of within that football club, you want to sort of see some assets grow. You want to do a bit of buying and selling that is going to help the business, help the football club grow, and help your sort of stock grow, if you like. But at the same time, every owner probably has slightly different reasons for wanting to own a football club here, and we'll never, you can never know the sort of thinking behind some of them. So it's a big trend, and it's a growing trend. There aren't many Premier League teams left now, I don't think, in English ownership, are there? I'm saying that without really knowing, but that's my impression. There can't be many left, can there? That are not foreign owned, and that will trickle down to Championship League One, League Two, and probably further down as well. So, we have to say, in some ways that's a shame, because you go back to the old. I know it's a bit of a sort of rose-tinted view, really, but you go back to the days when all clubs were owned by the local, the sort of owner of the local factory or whatever, and you know, he knew the players he was buying because they were all local lads and everything else. A lot of the fans would know the chairman because he employed somebody in their family and something like that. Those days are so far gone now, aren't they? And probably never really ever going to come back to football at the top level in this country, because we've gone so far away from that model. And like anything, you know, there will be clubs who prosper under these sort of owners, and there will be others where it's a disaster. And you've seen that already this season. You know, you've got protests against owners at certain clubs around the country, haven't you? And you've got other fan bases that are very, very happy with what's happening. So, can go both ways. As ever, it's governed by how well your team does on the pitch.
Excellent answer to a very complex and rambling question there.
It's probably a rambling answer as well.
Let's sort of intensify things a little bit, shall we? Prediction for Ipswich, and then have you got an oddity for us this week?
I have got a little oddity for the listener. A prediction for Ipswich. I'm going against my sort of better judgment here. I think we're going to get a point at Ipswich. I think and I'd be delighted if we did. I think we're going to get a 1-1, similar to the West Brom game. I think there's going to be times in the game where it looks like we're going to be swamped, but actually we'll you know, I think we'll take confidence from how we've approached the games at West Brom and Southampton. I think we'll carry that into this game. I personally would like to see Swift played further forward to see what he can do in the sort of number 10 role if Chaplin's out. We've got the added worry of whether Murphy is going to be out. If he is, I imagine Bianchini will get another go. By the way, I thought Bianchini, although his end product wasn't up to much last weekend, I liked the way that he got into the game. You know, wingers who aren't having a good game can sometimes drift out and be anonymous, but actually he was looking for the ball and he was getting plenty of the ball, and I kind of liked what I saw from him in many ways. So perhaps he'll get another chance at Ipswich, but no, I'm going 1-1 at Ipswich. And would you like a little teaser, a little oddity for the listener to finish with?
Very much so.
I can say before I start it that you've probably got no chance of being able to answer it, so I will give you the answer. But it's a nice one, and it's one that you could probably the listener could come up with variations on. I'm going to give you a list of 7 footballers. Okay, I'm just going to give you their names, and then I want to tell you not so much what they've got in common, but what sort of binds them together. So the 7 are Bob Holmes, Billy Meredith, Billy Pease, Stanley Matthews, Billy Bonds, Dennis Irwin, and Billy Sharp.
Yeah, I like this one. Billy Bonds.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the fact that, in fact, 4 of them are called Billy.
No, okay.
That's just coincidence.
Okay, I've got the first Holmes, 5. Who are the 6 and 7?
Okay, so I'll start again for those who weren't paying attention or taking notes. Bob Holmes is the first. Billy Meredith, Billy Pease, spelled Pease, Stanley Matthews, Billy Bonds, Dennis Irwin, Billy Sharp. Any ideas?
Did they all carry on playing until a ripe old age?
Well, that's not the answer.
Okay.
They probably did, and the fact that they did, it helps you towards the answer.
And then I'm going to have a punt, and it'll be the last one, otherwise we'll be here all day. I'm going to go number of appearances?
No, it's not the number of appearances. What binds them together is that between them, just 7 players, between them, they have played in every season of the Football League from 1888 to the present day.
That is properly obscure. I love it.
Isn't it? It is. I'll just quickly go over some of the dates, and then I ought to say where this has come from. So Bob Holmes is the one who wasn't particularly long serving. So he played from 1888 to 1892. Billy Meredith played from 1892 to 1924, which he must have been 50 when he was still playing. Billy Pease played from 1920 to 34. Stanley Matthews, incredibly, played from 1931 to 1965. Billy Bonds, 1964 to 88. Dennis Irwin, 83 to 2004. Billy Sharp, 2004 to present. And there was a little thread about this on X, on Twitter, and it was a tweeter called the McRae Cases. I don't know who that is. Sorry, the McRae Case. On Twitter, if you want to look him up. He did a bit of research and came up with a string of just 7 players who between them had covered, what are we talking, nearly 140 years of the Football League.
Brilliant.
Glad you liked it.
Actually, I'm kicking myself because I think we should have left the answer unanswered and seen if anybody could track it down, because it's the sort of thing that when there's nothing on telly, I'm going to sit there with my laptop.
Yeah, could have done. Never mind, I'll come up with another one and we can do that.
Will you do that? All right.
Yeah, I'm
Steve,
sure there's another one more like that.
As ever, an absolute pleasure. Fingers crossed for Ipswich and a point, you say, and talk soon.
Yes, probably not on Thursday next week, but I'll let you know when I'm around and I'm sure we can do something.
All right, fella, cheers.
Okay, see you soon.